The lawsuit claimed Cognizant ousted many non-Indian workers by first taking them off projects and benching them without work. Let's pause there for a moment. If you're not familiar with the word benching, I want you to visualize a sports analogy. Your favorite professional player is on the court, on the field playing, and all of a sudden they get benched. Now, the difference in professional sports is they're going to get their money whether they on the field or court or not. However, if you are a contract worker, if you get put on the bench, that means your hours will be cut and you're making less money for your home. I'm thinking about one of my students. We'll call her Nita. Nita came to my class. She was looking to rebrand herself. I didn't notice in the beginning, but after the class, I began to build a relationship with her, and she shared with me she worked for Cognizant, the only African American, in fact, the only minority person I've ever have actually met that works for this Cognizant company. So after the class, she shared with me she's reading the writing on the walls at her job. Like what? They have changed boss. She had a Caucasian boss. Now she has an Indian boss, and her Indian boss is giving her tons of work. And she was kicking back on that work because they had other people in the company that it was their responsibility. And she was wondering, why is this my responsibility now? So when she began to kick back, old playbook, they ran a play on her. They cut her hours, put on the bench. So she went from 40 hours a week billing from the contract work to 20 hours a week. She got rent to pay, got bills to pay, and now 20 hours per week will not be enough to suffice all the bills that she had. So we began to work up a plan with her. Again, she came to the Scrum Master class to begin to look at ways to pivot because she worked for Cognizant. She worked in Silicon Valley for Google, right, as a contractor, doing things for them. So she's looking to pivot because she's reading the writing on Cognizant's wall that she might need to rebrand herself and maybe look at another company, maybe another field. So we're going through this process. She came up with some different options and whatnot. We tried some different things along the way. She applied for a few months. She took a step back. She called one day and said, I'm going to go join the military. I say, are you young enough to join the military? She said, yeah, I am like 2 years before the final number. I'm like, okay. I said, that's interesting. So she said of the 4 branches, she was going to go into the Air Force. Got all the stuff done, the preliminary stuff, passed the 5th, went through boot camp, and now she's back in California doing amazing things now as an officer for the Air Force. But what I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that was during that process, she was torn down. She was torn down. And I listened to a lot of Simon Sinek and talking about leadership. Now, if you're going to let people go, let them go with dignity. You got people working for you. Treat people like people. I mean, don't try to find bull jive to try to get rid of them. Put them in position so that they can be successful. Give them the coaching they need. She's very coachable. She had a great relationship with the Caucasian boss she had, but now she has a new boss. And I'm sure behind the scene, Cognizant was making some moves. So that's just, that really just hits home for me. I hate stuff like that. That's really why I love what I do here at SCRUMcademy. Her story is at least 1,000 other stories I got just like that today, right now. I'm working on cases, my own personal cases, right? Exactly. So that is her. So let's go a little bit further with this article. She was benched. She wasn't making enough money to pay her bills. So she pivoted, rebranded herself, and got into another industry so she could pay her bills and the lifestyle that she wanted to live. So what happens when you get benched? You're probably going to quit. Because that doesn't feel good to nobody to get benched, to have your hours reduced from what you used to make to now what we're going to offer you. Give yourself a 100% raise challenge. Sounding better and better to you every episode that I talk about it, right? I'm glad you followed. Now, bench them without work or little work, in her case, then keeping them benched until firing them in accordance with the company policy. She didn't get fired, but she saw the writing on the wall. Before I met her, her previous year evaluation was a stellar evaluation. She's doing more work than what she was doing before. And now with the new boss, now things go the opposite direction. You go from being a stellar employee to now You need to work on this. You need to work on this. Now we're going to put you on a performance plan. Really? Why are you going to play on people's intelligence and their morale in that way? I, I can't fathom that. I've been treated like that myself. I guess that's why I felt her pain. And if you've been through that, you see, I'm getting chills right now talking about it. You probably can see them on my face in this camera. Woo! So that is Nita. She wasn't fired. She quit because she saw the writing on the wall.